Alright, today we're working on a 90 Honda Accord, and we're doing a radiator swap. This car hit a deer and busted the radiator. It's cracked. It was leaking mostly around the top here. So first thing you want to do is disconnect your negative battery cable. And sometimes I get lazy and I don't do that, but it's kind of important on this because you don't want to be working on a radiator fan, have the darn thing kicked up. And the older Accords are kind of known for those fans kicking on by themselves. Some kind of weird circuit timing thing they got going on. So anyways, that keep your hand from getting all chewed up by the radiator fans and the air conditioning fan. So after you take off that negative battery cable, you want to jack the car up. And in case you didn't know, I'll show you the lift point on an Accord. It's right here, and that's where you jack it up. And then the rest is just like a Civic. You got your support spaces right there. Just put some jack stands down, and it should block the back tires. Set the parking brake, put it in park. So the next thing we want to do is take off your radiator cap. I really didn't have to do that on this one because it's leaking, so air's getting in it. And if you look down here, let's see if I can get a good shot of it. Try to zoom in on that. Right there, there's a little wing nut deal, and so you gotta loosen that, and that'll let the fluid drain out in your drip pan. And let you see it from down here. It just goes right there, and you might have to take a pair of pliers to break that free, but it's nicer than to put that whole port there so it can drain out. Now I'm probably going to end up having to pull this plastic off to get to this is an automatic, and if you have an automatic, what you're going to have is two extra hoses coming for your transmission to the bottom of the radiator, and I'll show you a better picture of that later on. So essentially we're going to take off this upper hose and the bottom hose, and then the two hoses, I don't know if you can see them or not, there's two hoses down there at the bottom, at the base of the radiator for the transmission. And then some other things we're going to have to do is we'll probably have to take this bracket off here. This is just a support bracket for the AC. You might loosen that so you don't stress the line, but you just should have to just loosen this, flip it back, then we'll take this off. Keep an eye on where these grommets go. You're going to need them later on. And then over on this side, you have some support brackets. And then hopefully, again, I think the big trouble is going to be getting to the bottom transmission coolant lines. But essentially then we'll hopefully just be able to lift this out. If not, I'll probably have to drop that plastic cover and we'll get to the transmission lines back there. So this is just going to take a little while to drain out. So we'll pick it up after it's drained. Right, show you what I've done so far. This little deal broke off, but there's supposed to be a nub there. And this clamp is right here. So what I do is I just take these two 10mm bolts out, remove this at the side. I might like to put my bolts back so I don't have to go hunting around and figuring out which ones went where. This one here, this is that bracket. All I did is loosen this one and then took these out, flipped that up, and then put them back in. And came over here. Basically, here's that nub thing that was busted off the other side. Again, that was just sitting on it right there. Take these two bolts out, put them back, set that aside, and radiator's getting loose there. Also what I did was I dislike these kind of clips here. I don't know why they use these, but it's just a wire, kind of like just worked on spreading that out, slid that back, and then you pull this off and that just goes to your overflow bottle. Try not to lose that little wire thing. Just put it back a little bit and then set the hose to the side. And probably next what I'm going to do is work on this upper radiator hose, and then we'll kind of take it from there. I might take the fans off depending on how much clearance it got. We'll kind of see how that works because I'm worried that I wouldn't be able to get to the bottom screws on this, but we'll see. Alright, next I took off this upper radiator hose. Just get yourself a pair of pliers like that and squeeze this together, slide it off, and then work this. If it's too tight, just set your locks a little bit big, about the size of the hose. Just grab it, but you don't want to. Should get in the habit of not squeezing so tight that you break the plastic, even though that's a bad radiator. Once you get it rocking free like that, then you can just work it off with your hand, set it off to the side. Next thing I did was come over here to get this connector, and I want to show this. It's hooked onto that clip right down here, and first thing you do, or you disconnect it, is it's funny because I want to show this because for some reason when these clips are hooked up to a metal bracket, you grab this tab and I'm lifting it up towards me, and that's how you release those kind of tabs. All the other connectors you squeeze down, like on this, to get it actually unplugged. You squeeze the back of that down, and then you can slide this connector off. So again, to get it off of the bracket, you lift up on that tab, and then to actually disconnect the connector itself, you push down on the other tab, and then you can slide that out. And it was easier to take it off that clip right there before I unhooked it. There should be another one, which I'll try to find, that's down there somewhere. Might be on this side, but so I'll just take a look, see what I want to disconnect next. It's getting pretty loose, and also I'm kind of tempted to just disconnect the lower radiator hose from there. I don't know if that'll be easier or not. I'll kind of check it out, show you what I do. So the next thing I decided to do is just remove this whole overflow bottle altogether. It's just got a clip right here, and you just slide it out, and it just goes, it's slid in right there. And after doing that, then I can see that other connector down there. Hope that's showing up on the camera. So that should be the other fan connector, so I'll work on getting that disconnected. It looks like kind of the same setup. It's clipped into something, which I'll see if I have to remove that. I'll probably remove it off the rail first and then disconnect the connector. And so it's going to be, should be like the other side. That connector was just like the other side, just in a lower spot. I don't know if, again, I can't tell if it's showing up, but right down here there is a metal clip. Same deal, you pulled out on the clip to slide the whole connector off, and then just pinch the connector disconnected. So both fans at this point should be disconnected. Okay, next I decided to take off this bottom cover, and if you look at it, you just have a spot here, and like 1, 2, 3, and I think that's the last one. Oh, and you got these here, but they're still in the engine because when I had the accident, like, popped them off. And just some of those spots are just these little bolt deers here, the side ones, and I'll go under here, and they're all in little square holes along the top there. And let's see, I try to find one that didn't have to take out because it was kind of like popped out, but I don't see one. Anyways, so you just take those out. They're just 10 millimeters and they come out pretty easy. So, but when I popped them out, you can see the bottom of the radiator here now. Here, I'll flip the camera around for you. So, here's one of those transmission lines. And so I'll probably just take that clamp off right there. There's the other one right over here. And there's the bottom radiator hose, so I'll be able to get to that really easy, it looks like. And I'm tempted, I want to try to get possibly to the fan bolts. It should be right around this area. I'll see if I can see them or not from the bottom. Here was where that drain plug was. I just took it out all the way, threw it down in there. So that's kind of where I'm at. And pulling that off really gave me a lot of better view than I could get from the top. So I'll just kind of press on. Alright, so I decided to take the fan off. It just has 10 millimeter bolts in the corner. The two top bolts are really easy to get here. You can see the other fan, they're still on this one here. Here on the bottom, they're actually in the corner and a little bit more to the center. And in the accident, it popped one of them out. But by taking that out, and if I were to do this again, I would take this bracket all the way off because I kind of got hung up on it trying to pull that fan out. But I was able, the position of the radiator hose, the clamp was kind of spun around on top, so it was easier to get it to the top. So I just moved the clamp back and then pulled that bottom radiator hose off. And you can see a lot more room with the fan out. I might have to take this fan out to make a little bit more clearance, so I'll check that out a little bit. Now what I'm kind of deciding on is if I can get that fan out, and then also how I want to take these coolant lines for the transmission off. So you can see one there, that brass fitting, and if you go over this side here, I don't know if you can see it from over here or not. Kind of can see it down there, but it kind of goes same deal, just as that one just over. So I have an option of, let's see, disconnecting up top here, right there, and then there's another line like right over right there, and I might do that, and so that's my next decision. Alright, I decided to pull that other fan. I was a little bit surprised. This one only had 3 bolts in, 1, 2, 3, and this one was kind of holding the bracket on, and I'll show you that. On this one, oh, it looks like good. The fan didn't break. I was worried that that one was broken. There's the 2 top ones, and then we got the 2 bottom ones there. And I put the old bolts from the top of the fan back in the radiator. You can see a lot better down there. And that thing I was talking about, that 1 bolt for the bottom of that one radiator on this side, see, it was also holding that bracket there, which is just a support bracket for that transmission coolant line. So this is like ready to come out. I just have to decide on where I want to disconnect the coolant line. It's real tempting just to do it at those brass fittings. I don't know if that would be good or bad. Seems like that would be pretty easy. I do have new brass fittings, so on the one hand I kind of want to use my new one. So second option is to disconnect it down there, and the third option is to disconnect it up here. So that's all I got to do now, is get those transmission coolant lines off. Also, you should kind of plug the lines when you pull them off. I'm gonna see if I have some old spark plugs, because those will probably fit right in the end of those lines, because I don't really have anything that I can think of off the top of my head to plug those transmission lines with. But after I get those disconnected, it'll be basically ready to pull the radiator out. It's like just held on by those lines down there. So far it's going pretty good. Here's what I ended up doing is there was a clamp like this at this end. I just took the screw all the way out. It's kind of a weird looking clamp. I just cut loose in it, and it just came off. I'll have to see how the other one's hooked up. It looks like there's some little parts of it go into the little holes there, and it tightens up somehow. But then I just took an old spark plug. Well, it's not an old one, but it's not a spark plug I found, and I plugged the radiator line with it. And then that little black cap that I ended up putting on the other end was off my new one, and I couldn't. It's kind of weird. So after I took this deal off, and as you can see, it does loop in on one part of it, and then it just wraps around to the back of that. So it's kind of nice to have this other one so I can see how it goes back on. After I loosened this off, I was just dealing with this clamp, and it was right there. You can see the lines from it, and I couldn't pull it this way. So what I ended up doing is just popping it off the end and leaving it on the radiator down there, and that seemed to work really well. And this hose is like way flexible, so it kind of is nice. As I popped it off, I just grabbed the hose here, worked it loose, pulled it back, and then I just swung it up here to keep as little transmission fluid coming out of there as possible. So now I just have this side here, and as you can see, the radiator could come out as soon as I get that piece disconnected. And so I'm almost got it out. So anyways, that's where I'm at. Just got to get that one hose off there, and then I can take this radiator out. Okay, just got to get this last side off right there. I'm just going to take my extension here, which I got to set up. It's a long extension. go down there, and it's a 10mm bolt down there. Just gonna unscrew that and then slide the metal or the clip over to the right onto the brass and get the hose off and then pull that out. Alright, just got that hose off the bottom there, and I just put the old spark plug trick in there. There we go. So I got it out there, and here's what I was talking about on the bottom. I just slid the clips off the line onto these to make it easier to get off. And this looks like an aftermarket radiator, kind of like the one I just got. You want to make sure you got these clips on the bottom down here. Don't lose these. You're gonna need them on the new radiator. Show you what it looks like inside the engine bay there. So yeah, those little plastic deals will just fit on the bottom there. Hopefully, I didn't even think about this. Hope this air conditioning unit's okay. But that's where we're at. Get the radiator out. Just gotta get the new one set up. It looks just like this, except for doesn't have a radiator cap on it. Anyhow, so that's how you take your radiator. Actually, also one last thing is I accessed the those clips from the bottom of the car down here, because here, I'll see if I can see that. Hope that shows up on camera. You can see a lot better from the bottom down there.